with no tight end and with no slot receiver, with a lousy offensive line, Peyton feels like he has to do more than he's ever done in his life. And Troy's gone. So I'll ask you.
Call him back.
You were out there yesterday, Mark. I mean, is there something to what I just said that I'm relaying from people, 3 different people that are close to Peyton?
I think that Peyton Manning's always believed that it was on him, and it was his responsibility to get the offense moving. And the Broncos, John Elway, Gary Kubiak decided we don't want that from you anymore, Peyton. I think that's part of his inner struggle too, is that I'm not as essential as I used to be, and you pile the idea on top of that of he doesn't have a great tight end or a slot receiver, which throughout his history, even when he was younger, he relied on those positions a great deal, and those positions are not positions of strength with the Broncos so far this year.
Troy, did you hear most of the question before the line broke?
No, I just heard the beginning of the question. What are your
okay, well, the 3 people, the 3 people that are very close to Manning, and I'll leave it at that because they'd rather stay that way, anonymous, said to me that even though all the talk is, though the Broncos are taking pressure off of Peyton because they're wanting a run game and all that stuff, that there's more pressure on Manning than maybe in his entire career because of the lack of a slot receiver, the lack of a tight end, a lousy offensive line, and that's what's leading to interceptions. That's what's leading to indecisiveness. That is, he's trying to do too much, that despite what they're doing, they put too much pressure on him to perform.
Well, I mean, I wrote that and got destroyed my emails. You guys are much more familiar with that experience than I am in terms, because I don't write straight columns, more analytical stuff. But the idea that if they want Peyton better, he needs better weapons, and I got destroyed because anyone would take DT and Emmanuel, which they would. You know, the fact that, you know, DT's had a lot of drops, so his year has not been as impressive as he would have liked. But to your point, Jordan Norwood is not Wes Welker. He's not even Wes Welker of last year when Wes was clearly in decline. And you look at Owen Daniels, he has had no impact. And against the Raiders, who are the worst defensive team against tight ends, no receptions. And the one guy they missed, and he wouldn't have re-signed here because it made no sense, but Julius Thomas was able to run that seam route that took defenders away, and he would force you to play 2 safeties high. And now they go 1 safety high, and I wrote today in that pick story about how it's almost paint-by-numbers defense where they don't respect the play action. So the guy goes on a route, and the linebacker stays with one guy for 1 step, 2 step. Oh, wait, okay, here comes the crossing guy underneath. I'm going to go to him now. They would have never done that with Manning because as soon as you leave the guy, boom, he hits the open guy. And they don't believe he's going to hit that seam. There's no threat vertically. And so the defense is so crowded. These 8, 9 guys who are within 5 yards. So in some ways, there is more pressure because he's trying to make plays, like Mark said, without the weapons he's used to having, specifically dependable slot receivers and tight ends. That's why this week's so fascinating. If Owen Daniels can't get going, do you make a run at Vernon Davis, Jared Cook, Martellus Bennett? Because at some point, the tight end has to be part of this offense. Part of it is they need to run better. We know that.
Yeah.
But if the tight end's not part of this offense, it's a really odd fit for Peyton Manning.
Yeah, I'll follow up with what you just said, that I tend to now watch whether the teams play 2 deep safeties or two safeties that are back side by side or 1 deep safety, and you're absolutely right. They're playing 1 safety, and they're shoving more people close to the line of scrimmage, you know, the 8 in the box kind of thing. But what one of the guys, and I'll say one of the guys played with Peyton for a lot of years, and he told me that what would happen before is you'd have a linebacker on a slot receiver. And the slot receiver coming across the field could beat the linebacker. Well, now you've got a nickel cornerback on the slot receiver. Well, that's not a good matchup. That you now have somebody that can work with a slot receiver, and that's why he's not getting open. And so the tight end is then left with a good safety who's up and is getting help because with the linebacker, that they're shutting down those 2 positions, and those guys can't find the spacing. And the other thing I brought up here is, would you try one of the wide receivers at tight end? Would you take who did I talk about the other day? That
Benny Fowler.
Benny Fowler, and at least him. I mean, you don't have to have on receiving plays, you don't have to have a legitimate tight end in that tight end position other than just chip like Shannon Sharp used to do. I'm sorry, that's that's a lot to give you.
I mean, Fowler and Latimer Fowler's shown that in limited chances he can make big plays, and Latimer they believe is finally making progress. They praised his blocking in Cleveland as part of the reason they ran the ball better. But to your point, I don't know about tight end, Woody. I would definitely look to see if you can get them in slot patterns. I would not be crazy about putting Emmanuel in the slot too much, just because if he gets hurt, I mean, he's for me their best offensive player. But yeah, I mean, if Jordan Norwood's not getting it done, put Fowler there, put Latimer there, give them a couple of routes to run because they're both big physical guys, 6'3", 6'4", vertical leap. I mean, Norwood's tiny like Welker, but he doesn't have Welker's quickness that Welker had in his prime. He's not getting open consistently. So, like you said, if a nickel guy's going to guard the slot, then maybe you just outsize him with a Fowler or Latimer, where Norwood is tiny. He's got to outquick him, and right now he's not getting open in one-on-one matchups.
Hey, Troy, always appreciate the time, and we'll talk to you soon. We'll see. If nothing else, we'll see you Sunday night in the press box.
Yeah, look forward to it, guys. Thanks as always.
All right, Troy Renck of the Denver Post.